In this episode, Don Martelli sits down with Alicia Kabir of Cradles to Crayons, an organization working to end clothing insecurity for children and families across Massachusetts and beyond. From properly fitting clothes and winter coats to school supplies and diapers, Cradles to Crayons helps make sure kids have the essentials they need to feel confident, comfortable, and ready for what's ahead. Alicia shares how volunteers, donors, families, and corporate partners come together to make that impact possible, and why a few hours of service can make a meaningful difference in a child's life. And here's your host, Don Martelli, CEO of the PR Bunker.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back down to the PR Bunker. Very excited for today's conversation. We're speaking to an organization that is near and dear to my heart, that is really well known in the Boston area. My guest, Alicia, will be speaking about Cradles to Crayons. And if you don't know about these folks, you're about to hear all about them. But first, Alicia, thank you for joining me down here in the PR Bunker.
Happy to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
No problem. Love what you all do. Anything that supports families and children in the way that you all do and generally is just sort of, as a dad, really near and dear to my heart. I've volunteered, done some things with the organization over the years. But before we get into all that, I love telling the story and the journey of those that work in the nonprofit space, that have a big heart, that work in mission-driven work. So, how'd you get to Cradles to Crayon? What's your career like? Give me the story.
Yeah. Well, first, Don, thank you for your support of the organization, for coming into volunteering and all of the things that you've done over the years. I unexpectedly ended up in the nonprofit space. I went to college for engineering. I have a professional engineering license, and I was in the technical space for a long time. And when I was in the consulting world, I ended up on the board of a nonprofit. And that nonprofit was CASM, supporting children whose parents had cancer. And I was so compelled by the mission and so interested in joining the nonprofit space that when they needed a chief operating officer, I jumped at that opportunity and I left the for-profit space and went into the nonprofit sector. And that's been almost 10 years now. And that eventually led me over to Cradles to Crayons. I'm very passionate about service of youth, supporting families, and also volunteerism and the power of bringing people together through volunteering and providing impact to others throughout the community.
So describe what the organization's mission is all about and the work that you do.
Yeah, we're almost 25 years in the making. We're located here in Boston. We've since expanded into Philadelphia and Chicago as well. But we are focused on ending clothing insecurity. And that means helping kids in need, making sure that they have clothing that makes them feel great, that is properly fitting, that is seasonably appropriate, and makes them feel confident and good in who they are.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I've worked in education for a little bit. Little things like, having lunch, right? A breakfast, having clothes, a backpack, sneakers, all these little things that we just take for granted is such an important foundation for how these kids engage with their friends and how they learn and the dynamic that they're going through. And what kind of age ranges do you all cover in terms of the work that you do?
We serve kids newborn through age 18, and that's been a recent expansion. Initially, we were focused on only the more younger kids through age 12, and we realized that, to your point, teens need clothes that feel great as well. They've got kids have big brothers and big sisters that also need some support. And so we expanded that service up through age 18. And we do everything from diapers to for newborns all the way up through adult clothing for teenagers.
That is so cool. So cool. And it's not just dropping a bag of clothing off at a warehouse. And I know that there's some complexity in different ways to engage with the organization. So kind of walk me through, how do people get involved? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, you're very kind and appreciate that. We are fortunate to be reasonably recognized here in the Boston area, but always welcoming new folks to get involved. So our focus is collecting gently used clothing throughout the state and bringing that to our warehouse in Newton. We use volunteers to quality check that clothing, sort that clothing, and then we have a large network of other nonprofits that we work with who receive those items and get them out to kids in need.
That's great. I'll never forget, I did this for an agency I worked with years ago, and we're in a warehouse and there's other companies there doing some stuff, and there's probably maybe 50, 60 people in that room. And at one point, as I'm on my little assembly line, doing my thing, bagging things up, and everybody has a job, which is kind of awesome. You attack it like a team, and there's so much energy in there. And not that I was welling up, but I stood there in this room of just noise and laughter and people saying, man, the weight of this thing is so important, but people are having such a good time because it makes them feel good, realizing that you are putting your hands on clothing that's going to be on some kid's back that might make them feel they're going to walk into the classroom with a little swag, which is like, man, that's so incredible. So, and how long you been with the organization?
Almost 2 years.
Okay, so what's that experience been like you as a professional, kind of being in these rooms, seeing people involved? Because, I mean, anybody can drop off a bag of clothes, but going there and experiencing the coordination, and your team does a masterful job in making sure that people are aligned and everybody has a job and things get done pretty effectively. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been doing it for 25 years. What's that experience been like that for you?
Yeah, it's really special. And I appreciate you're talking about the joy and the fun that comes behind mission work. And I think that's true for a lot of nonprofits, and particularly here. When you come here to volunteer, it is a 2-hour shift. We've got music going and it feels like a community. You can come in with your family. You can come in with your young kids starting at age 5. You can come in with your corporate team. And we have so many people, Dawn, say at the end of those 2 hours, I understood how I made a difference because we're very clear on the impact made. And I got to know my family or my teammates better than I probably have in months or years. There is something really special about coming through our warehouse, our giving factory here in Newton. And anytime you're having a bad day, myself included, I'm like, let's just go walk out there for a couple of minutes. And it really just changes your perspective on what people can do when they get together, and we can all do hard things together.
I love that. I mean, my oldest daughter was, both of them actually were Project 351 ambassadors. So that program is a great program. If those of you don't know it, there are students that are picked from the 351 cities and towns around Massachusetts that will do a day of service. And part of the journey that my oldest went through was to do a clothing drive. And she said, Dad, we got some stuff we need to drop off at Cradles to Crayons. I'm like, I know those people. I've been there before. She's like, I've got about 45 bags we need to drive over to Newton. I'm like, all right. I got a pretty thick SUV, and like we jammed that thing full of clothes, and just brought me flashbacks full circle for me to, I think when I did it originally, I did it 3 or 4 times. First time I was like late 20s, early 30s, but here I am with my 17-year-old daughter at that location going, man, this is kind of one of those full circle moments. So I'm sure you see families in there from time to time, and it's not just big corporations, but I always say every nonprofit can use your time, your talent, and your treasure. And your treasure is a check, but your treasure is also just, your willingness to get involved, roll up your sleeves, and have a good time while you're getting these packages ready for families.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, Project 351 is an amazing program. I love that both your daughters were part of it. That organization and that collective energy brings almost 15% of the clothing that we need for an entire year. It's a very significant partnership, and we're incredibly grateful for all that they do. Yeah, I mean, we have 25,000 people come through the store, probably closer to 30,000 this upcoming year. Honestly, it will continue to grow, and we literally cannot do what we do without those volunteers. So it is a rolling basis where we have those shifts running all week long. So you're coming in for your 2 hours, really stepping into a process that's been churning all week, and you make immediate impact in terms of getting that clothing out the door. And it is fun.
It's a well-oiled machine for sure. I mean, it's like it's amazing to see how the operation works. I want to go back to the partners as well. I'm sure corporate partners are a big part of making sure that you're financially solvable and there's some support there. What's that look like? So if you're an organization out there thinking about doing a day of service, how does an organization get involved at that level?
Yeah, we are incredibly grateful for our corporate support and our partners. And it looks like a whole range of options for companies that they can decide what's best for them. Some organizations come in once or twice a year, and we love that. We do ask for a little bit of financial support to help us keep the lights on while they're doing those volunteer shifts. But they come in, you can view that as team building. Some of our larger partners will come in every month, every quarter, and then also attend some of our bigger signature events. Like we're getting ready to do a big backpackathon in 2 days. And so of our corporate organizations really
what's a backpackathon? What is that?
Yeah, so we'll be down at the Aganis Arena. BU has been an amazing partner of ours, where on Thursday, we will be putting together over 50,000 backpacks. If you look at the pictures, you'd be like, wow, that's an all-day or multi-day event, and we actually do it in 2 hours. So our staff is starting to set everything up as we speak, and we'll have over 800 corporate individuals and supporters there helping us get those backpacks moving. And then many of those will go directly to schools so that they can start distributing those soon.
And how far and wide is the distribution network? Is that local Boston? Is it Massachusetts? What's that look like?
Yeah, we're supporting kids across the state of Massachusetts in every county. We are focusing more on greater Boston because the need is so great.
Of course.
There's just so many kids to reach. We started dabbling in Rhode Island and New Hampshire, thinking that might take a little bit of time to grow. And honestly, the need and the interest was so big and so quick that we started already distributing packages there as well.
That's
so
awesome.
Our focus is also to start looking at those other states where the need is helpful and where we can just be good partners in the community.
That is fantastic. I mean, I can't imagine how many backpacks that looks like. It's just got to be this massive sea of backpacks. So what's going in the backpacks? Is it clothing? Is it school supplies, things like that?
Yeah, the school supplies are specifically what's going in the backpack. So yes, we are in already back to school mode for sure. Having said that, kids need a lot of other things to get ready for school. So our mind is really already on fall clothing, fall shoes, and even winter. So we're starting to collect winter coats, get our plans together for that. Fall jackets as the weather starts to get a little chilly. So we are always thinking probably 3-6 months ahead of the actual temperature. So I know it's really hot right now, but
That's smart because Mother Nature is going to do her thing and she will turn to cold pretty quickly. And by the way, as a former reporter, I'm a sucker for a number 2 pencil. So if you need some number 2 pencils, I got a ton of these floating around. I was one of those reporters behind my ear pencil guy. So I just, can't outdo a pencil. Anyways.
I agree. I love it.
It takes a special, drive to work in this particular space, right? There's a million things we can do as professionals, and somebody with your background, you can engineering, you're building, right? There's things you can do, right? I was a business major, marketing, and so on and so forth. But there's a draw to this sort of work. What gets you motivated every morning to get up, get to the office, do the thing? What's the thing that can continue to fuel the passion for you, for personally?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly to work at any nonprofit, you have to be all in on that mission, and really believe and know that you are helping move the dial and that needle towards something better, and that you're leaving work, hopefully making it a little bit better out there for others than you did when you started your day. And so we here and myself, we're very focused on, kids come first, and we put and ground all of those decisions on, how ultimately is this best for the kids and the families that we serve. So I'm here to serve kids. I know we've talked a lot about volunteering as well. Like I am all in on that importance of giving back and being a volunteer. Mm-hmm. And then of course, our staff here is incredible. We only have 30 people-ish here in Boston, overseeing 30,000 volunteers and helping over 115,000 kids a year. Like it's a really incredible team, and I'm really proud of all the work that they do here.
That's incredible. I think for over the years of the 20 plus years I've worked with nonprofits, one of the things I've learned about those that work inside sometimes have a different purview of what the work looks like in the mission, because you're inside out versus outside in. So after being there for 2 years, what's the secret sauce? Maybe it is the people, maybe it is the staff. And as you've been there for 2 years, what's the secret that keeps this organization running at that level, at that high efficiency for 25 years? And by the way, if you're a member of the media listening to this, that thing on Thursday at BU, you better make sure you get some cameras there. It's going to be a great story. But what's the inside story that you see that maybe people don't on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. Hey, the impact is quick, it's tangible, and it addresses just real urgency in our state across the Commonwealth right now. So people know when they support, they know what we do. I think it's very clear that we are gathering clothing and getting that out to kids in need. When you donate your time, it's very clear of how you've spent your 2 hours and what that meant in terms of children supported. And then, as I mentioned, we need diapers and other consumables, and people know when they donate $1 or whatever that amount is, exactly how it gets used. I think we've put together a lot of trust. We've garnered a lot of trust with our supporters and the nonprofits that we work with. And I think ultimately that's it. I think people trust us. I know people trust us, and that drives, I think, interest in supporting us short-term and long-term.
Yeah, I would 1,000% echo that. I think the reputation of Cradles to Crayons is as rock solid as they can, mostly because of what you deliver and how you deliver it and how long you have been delivering it. Now, we talked about this week, what's coming up with the backpacks, but as you're already thinking about Santa Claus and the holidays and probably the start of next year, because this is your space and I know how you all folks work, what's coming down the pike? I mean, because you're never at a loss for people to get involved. And so where can people slot in the next handful of months? What's that look like?
Yeah, it is certainly busy here as we start thinking about back to school. That is a very big time for us, getting all those backpacks and clothing items out. And then winter is another big push for us, particularly to get winter jackets out the door. We will distribute over 50,000 winter coats this winter.
Holy smokes.
So how you can get involved? We need help every day. You can come in and volunteer almost every day of the week. So we're open generally Wednesday through Saturday, and then we can do some support on those other days as well. You can donate clothing. Most of our clothing is gently used from folks like you and me cleaning out our closets or looking at our family going, all right, you've got some things in there you're not going to wear. So you could help us collect clothing and then drop that off for us. And then, of course, that financial support. You could help us purchase diapers and wipes through our bulk purchasing power. So it's cheaper for us to buy that. And we would use your financial support very, very, very wisely.
That's great. Yeah, it gives people options, because it's easy to write a check and put it in the mail and go on with your day. But we give people a variety of options so they can be as close to the mission as possible or just donate or support in some way, shape, or form. I think it's really smart. I love kind of telling the micro story of the macro because we've covered the macro. We understand what you do, who you're impacting. Over the past couple of years you've been there, are there any sort of small anecdotes that just stick with you as you start to talk? Oh, what do you do for work, Alicia? Oh, this is what I do. And any small anecdotes that really are emblematic of the brand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always have one around the volunteer experience and then one around the kids serve. So I'll start with the kids serve because that is why we're here. We don't get to see many of our items go directly to kids because they go through another nonprofit first, but sometimes we do get to connect with those families. And I went to one of our backpack distribution events last fall, and those are truly, truly special, to see a bunch of elementary school kids at school. I think it was their second day of school, so they weren't too happy to be there overall, but, they're going to go and pick out their new backpacks. And what's special is that every kid got a backpack. So even though I'd say probably 75% of that school would have qualified for a free backpack anyway, the decision was made to give every child one of those backpacks. And it was so special seeing them come up and pick which color they wanted, which pattern they wanted. There was no fighting. There was no arguing. They were polite. And it was just really, really special to see them receive those items directly. So I always appreciate those opportunities.
It's a big decision. I mean, backpack is like the brand, it's whether you go in like cartoon characters, you go in colors. I mean, it represents you, man. I did it when I was in high school and grammar school. Same with the sneakers, right? It's your, and to give them that, to eliminate the, we don't have access to situation. Now they have access and they're like, I'm just like everybody else. I have a cool backpack. I can't no, maybe it's day 2 and they're miserable, but they got a cool backpack because, which is pretty fun. What's the other example?
Exactly. I love that. Around coming in to volunteer, you talked a lot about families, and it really is seeing the young kids and the teens be here giving back. We have a really wonderful family leadership program where families can bring in their kids starting at age 5. We have a really wonderful teen leadership program as well. And I've really, really enjoyed, seeing the teens come in and help run shifts or volunteer shifts or help in other ways. And there is nothing better than seeing a bunch of 5-year-olds and 2-hour shifts, a little bit long, but we put together some fun activities on some of the events. They'll come, they'll volunteer, they get to know each other. You see families connecting as well. And it's really special to see those littles, start to think about philanthropy and their role in giving back as they get older.
I mean, they're sponges at that level, right? And if your parents, guardians, people around you set the table, you're going to become one of those people who are maybe have a degree in one thing and end up finding themselves in nonprofit world, just like my guest here. Now, here's I always love adding some oddball kind of question. How would you apply your educational experience and your degree and the work that you were doing prior to working in nonprofit? Is there any connective tissue to engineering and building? And I think I know the answer, but I can't wait to hear it. How do you connect that your engineering brain, which is beautiful, by the way, because I don't have that kind of brain. That's building and it's seeing and building. How do you apply that to your work today?
Yeah, I love that question. I'd say it's in 2 ways. I love that you were going macro and then micro. So I'll start with the macro. I think engineers are continuous learners. So I'm always thinking about the broader picture and what do we need to do to reach our goals? What do we need for technology? How do you put those blocks together? What is the roadmap to allow us to grow here? And then the micro, I was just doing a whole lot of math this morning, trying to do forecast for budgeting. We do have a warehouse, we're trying to figure out how to optimize process, logistics challenges. So there's certainly ways that I can bring those skills here in the day-to-day as well.
When you think about your journey to where you are today, and one of the part of the segment of the podcast usually is around like networking and building your career. What advice would you give a young professional who's thinking about going into mission-driven work? What does that look like? Clearly, you've made the transition and applied that educational technique to what you're doing now, which is really cool. What advice would you give to a young professional who's thinking about going into a space like this?
Say when you're younger, that is the time to try different career paths, see what's right for you. You can always make an additional shift if you feel that that makes sense for you. The nonprofit sector needs people. They need smart people, capable people. And I do feel like there's been a shift in the understanding of the nonprofit sector too, that the compensation is more competitive. I know we work hard here to benchmark and try to look at compensation and be equal as best we can. And there are other benefits like the time off and whatnot. But I do think that people are also understanding that nonprofits are businesses. They need to run like businesses. I'd say in many ways it's harder. You have to be so transparent and be upfront of how many dollars you spent on kids versus program and overhead. And there's a lot there to learn. And there's a lot of takeaways so that if you wanted to go back into the for-profit space, you're going to get skills that are going to take you wherever you want to go next.
Inside these organizations, you've got professionals that have been coming from different walks of life that run it like a business. You're there to make money, which is really to drive the mission to make an impact on the lives of other people. And frankly, to your point, there is a really big effort these days to retain talent in the nonprofit space because you don't want to lose those people. And executive directors, board members are super cognizant in bringing on talent from different walks of life to bring a different opinion and mindset to what you think is just putting clothes in the bag, which is clearly not, right? I think it's more complex than like selling widgets, if you will, on the business side. What are the different ways people can get involved and what kind of actions would you like them to take?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And agree with all of that. I'd say volunteering really is number one, whether it's your corporate group, if you can get some approvals and get a team in here, 5 people, team of 5 up to a team of 150. We can take them all and take you all. Once you're here and see what we do, you will have more appreciation of the need, the importance of this work and the community that we're building. After that, I'd say donating clothes. We definitely need more clothes as we continue to grow. We know there's plenty across this state. It's just a question of people letting it go and making sure they know where to place those items for us. Hop on our website. You can enter your zip code. It tells you right where you can drop things off. Easy one to remember is you go to an Old Navy. They've got a bin in every store. So nice and easy for everyone.
Perfect. Love that. That's a great partnership. That's creative.
And you'll see other retailers also promoting drop-off throughout different seasons. And then for those of you who are really busy or already involved in other nonprofits, we do have an Amazon wish list. We do need that financial support as well.
That's fantastic. And what is the website address?
It's cradlestocrayons.org.
Alicia, I can't thank you enough for the work that you and the team are doing there. You're impacting thousands of families' lives over 25 years, which is an honor. Congratulations on making the shift in your 2-year run here. And then whatever else you're going to do next, good luck this week with the backpacks. And then thank you for stopping by the PR Bunker.
Thank you, Don. Thanks for the support and all you do for the Boston community. You're amazing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the PR Bunker podcast, where we go beyond the headlines and into the trenches with founders, builders, and operators making real moves. This show is brought to you by the PR Bunker, a strategic communications agency helping mission-driven and impact-focused organizations cut through the noise and tell stories that matter. Want to learn more? Head to prbunker.com and subscribe to the Bunker Briefing, our monthly email newsletter packed with a 45-second read that's stacked with value. We're talking practical PR and communications insights, networking tips, and strategies to help you navigate the moments that matter. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. We've got more raw, real conversations on the way. So stay locked in. Until next time, keep building, stay resilient, and remember, momentum favors the bold.